All right, guys, welcome to Romantasy podcast. We are here for our very special holiday edition. My name is Nicole, and I'm here with the gorgeous Alley. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. We are in our Christmas cheer today. Got my reindeer. You're looking fabulous, Alley.
I even put eye makeup on today. So for those of you who usually watch our YouTube, you'll see I'm normally not wearing any makeup, or if I am, it's just like some foundation and blush. But today I thought, it's a special episode. This is our holiday episode. I have to show up. So you can see, I have eyeliner and eyeshadow on.
Gorgeous. As everyone's probably seen me knows that I'm like a makeup queen. I am always here with a face on. So
and I'm like the opposite. I'm like, if I can get away, how little makeup can I get away with wearing?
I'm like, I need my mask. I need my beauty mask on, and then I'm fine. But yes, I've gone all like sparkly today. I've got my cane.
Oh, so cute. I didn't think of doing holiday earrings. I don't even know if I have holiday earrings.
And I'm loving your sweater. I'm going to call it a sweater, not a jumper, which is what we call them in Australia. Show.
So I actually have a funny story for why I wore this particular holiday sweater. I have a bunch of holiday sweaters. Earlier this week, I traveled to Vancouver for my job, and I had a layover in Portland. And in the Portland airport, I was just about to board my plane, and some man just walked over and started yelling, "There are therapy llamas if you want to go pet them."
What?
Which is the strangest and weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. There were just these little therapy llamas. They were called Prince and Princess. They were dressed in little like elf costumes.
Oh my God.
They were very sweet. You could pet them and hug them. I have a picture. Maybe in the YouTube version of this, we can put a picture up. But
I love that.
So they were so cute. And honestly, I was feeling really grumpy because it was like, nobody likes a layover.
No.
And
so wait, was this at the airport, or was this at the airport?
At the airport. In the airport, in the terminal, like right next to the gate, like, yeah, it was the weirdest, craziest thing, but it did cheer me up. No, Portland. So it was in Portland on the way to Canada. Portland, Oregon. Yeah. It's a weird, it's a weird city.
All that we get is like the security dogs in Australia that like try and sniff out for the drugs and stuff. So and they will not let you go near those. So there's no therapy animals at our airports.
No, they were just like, yeah, we just like, holiday travel is so stressful for people. So we thought we would bring these therapy llamas around for folks. And I was like, well, this is the best thing ever.
And I love it.
So yeah, in honor of Prince, who let me give him a big, big hug, I had to wear my llama Christmas sweater.
I love it so much. So guys, I'm just wearing green because it's summer. If I wear a jumper, I will be sweating and I will probably fall in a heap halfway through this podcast. So I cannot share the sweater love. But yes, Allie's doing it on my behalf. So awesome. And we have got our cocktail today to celebrate. Now, what have you gone with? What is your cocktail?
So today's cocktail is a little bit of an Alley creation because my husband and I are traveling in 2 days. We leave the day after tomorrow to go away for 2 weeks for the holidays. So we don't have a lot of things. We've been eating, whatever we can cobble together, including liquor, including mixers. So my cocktail is peach schnapps, whiskey, and some sparkling apple cider. And I gotta tell you, it's really, really good.
Is it?
It's really good. I wish it had like a little...
Yeah.
Well, yes. So it was really sweet when I first tasted it, and then I just added more whiskey, and that helped.
This is going to get really loose. This podcast is going to get really loose today, guys. The more that we drink, the more it's just going to all fall in a heap.
Yeah, I just think I wish I had maybe like some lemon juice to cut it, but no lemons.
Well, mine is full of citrus goodness. So mine, guys, is this is a margarita. My husband makes the best margarita. I'm a very lucky girl because I feel like my husband everyone says my husband looks like John Wick. like everywhere he goes.
He does. Oh my gosh. Like the few little snippets I've seen of him on camera in the background, he totally does.
Everywhere we go, everyone's like, oh my God, you look like John Wick. You look like John Wick. And he loves it. So he's just like, yeah, I do. Like, yeah, okay. So, yeah, but
Totally
he also makes a fabulous margarita. So what's the margarita got in? It's got like triple sec. It's full of lime juice. It's
Tequila.
like sugar syrup, salt rim, very limey. It's delicious. And it's perfect for a nice summer cocktail.
I know. It's so funny to me that like your Christmas cocktail is a margarita. My Christmas cocktail is, like whiskey and much more heavy. But I love it.
I know. We were talking about it last week. We were talking about what like our Christmas cocktails were. And obviously I'm in summer, so I'm all about margaritas and mojitos and these summer kind of cocktails. And then Allie, you were like, I like mulled wine. And
I like hot toddy and mulled wine. Yeah.
I love that though. I want to experience a winter Christmas. Like, it's awesome that we have it in summer and it's really fun and we go to the beach and we, enjoy the heat, but I want to experience a winter Christmas. I feel like that's what Christmas is meant to be all about.
Meanwhile, I'm like, oh, I would love to spend Christmas on a beach.
We'll swap. One year we'll do it in winter with you, and one day
like
we'll come and do it in
the
summer
movie,
with
The
me.
Holiday Swap or whatever with Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz. We'll do
That's it. Yes.
The holiday swap. You come stay at my house in Utah. I'll go to Australia. It'll be perfect.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Without further ado, let's get started into our podcast, and we'll start with our general episode starter that we have. What have you been reading this week, Miss Allie?
So I'm so excited to talk about this because a couple months ago, an indie author reached out to me on Instagram and asked if I would read her book, and I agreed to. And there's been a lot of releases, so I've been a little lagging behind in reading it, but I finally started reading it early in this week. And let me just tell you, I inhaled this book.
Wow.
It's called Lucifer's Fall.
Yeah.
I probably gave it I would say 3.5 stars because there are a couple things that are clunky. And if you know me, that is still very good. I'm very, very harsh on my ratings.
So I've got to ask, is that like what you would call an indie author review, or would you say that is like your real review?
That's my real review, compared to, like a Fourth Wing, an Iron Flame.
Because that's amazing. That is really good if you're comparing it to those kind of novels.
Yes. Yeah, I am. And it's really good. It's about, it's like gods and goddesses and angels and demons and Lucifer, the devil, and sort of potentially how a love interest and a romance is what actually led him to, turn from the light.
Yes.
So I don't want to spoil it, but it's called Lucifer's Fall by Varusha Robin. She's actually an Australian, so you should definitely check it out. Amazing. And I read the first book, and then there's a second book. And I paid for the second book. I was like, I love this. I'm going to support it. And so far, I'm about 60% of the way through, and I'm thinking that it might be a 4-star book. It's really, really good.
That's amazing. So, I love that. I love supporting the indie authors, and there's some amazing books out there, and they just need to get, they just need to get out there into the world, because it sounds like that's an amazing read. I've read a couple that have been sent to me, but I wouldn't really bring them here. They've been really too clunky, and I've kind of had to give almost feedback and kind of say, this has potential, but so it's, but in saying that, there are some amazing writers out there, and I think there's some, I'd love to keep bringing some indie authors to this space, because I think that the more we get, the more that we can give them a pitch and share with, our Bookstagram community some of the amazing writers that are out there.
Yeah. Yes. And like I said, it's not a perfect book by any means. But there was a lot of books that I read that I give 3 stars. Most of the books
people have issues with Iron Flame as well.
Yeah. So 3.5 from me is pretty good, especially for a first book in a series. I'm often very harsh on the first book in a series.
Yes.
Because you have to world build, but I want to get to the exciting part, and the beginning was a little clunky, but once you get about a third of the way through the book, it's great. Amazing. It's really great. So go check it out. Go follow her on Instagram. I'm sure if you ask, she would give it to you for free, for a review. I don't want to promise that, but Either way, go support indie authors.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, I have been reading, well, not an indie author. I have been reading Caraval, and I am on currently about 4 hours of sleep because I could not stop reading last night. For those who don't know, I started the wrong way around. I saw Once Upon a Broken Heart on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I'm going to read this series. So I started with Once Upon a Broken Heart and became completely obsessed with Jackson Evangeline. That's one of the ultimate romances for me. Like, still, I inhaled those books. I didn't cope at the end of The Ballad of Never After. And then we finally got the finale to our trilogy. About a month or so ago, and that was amazing. Probably not quite the ending I was sort of wanting from the end of that book.
Yeah, no, me neither. Same.
It was good, but like, Jesus Christ, for starters, Jax, he hadn't kissed anyone in how long? I was like, I'm sorry, but they should be pashing the crap out of each other for the next, 3 weeks. Not just, one significant pash, and then it's like, oh, let's just hold hands. It's like, no, I'm sorry. He would be attached to your face, Evangeline, for the next, 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you remember, but that is the book that got us talking on Instagram. That's our meeting story, because you commented on Instagram that was reach out to me if you need emotional support. And maybe 2/3 of the way through the book, I was like, oh my God, Nicole, I am dying. What is happening? I'm freaking out. And that we started talking from there, and then started commenting on each other's videos.
I actually had forgotten that. I knew it was around that time, but I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember when we connected, but that was it.
That was our book.
Oh, that was our bonding moment, guys. That was when this all started. That was the moment. Our little meet cute was Once Upon a Broken Heart, Ballad of Never After, Curse for True Love.
Stephanie Garber brought us together. And now you're reading the other series, and I read the Caraval series,
and I'm 3/4 of the way through, and I'm currently not coping because, okay, quickly, guys, spoilers if you haven't read it, but I'm about to jump into it. So we've got she's sort of falling for Julian, who's just this sort of random sailor, but he seems like a bit more than. Or I'm looking for your face here. I'm like, oh, you know more than I do. Random. I'm like, is he legend or is he someone else? And then. You are keeping the straightest face right now. She is giving nothing away. Okay, so, and then there's Legends just come in and he's just stabbed Julian, and I'm like, what's going on? And he seems really crazy. So I'm like, is this the Legend? Is she going to fall for him? Is this our morally grey character? Or I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know what's going on. And it actually took a lot for me to put that down and come to the podcast today. But I have controlled myself. I've put the book down. I will get to that ending later. But just so everyone knows, I'm currently not coping. My theory is that Julian is Legend. Maybe he's just got a different face on or something.
Okay.
She's giving me nothing. She's giving me nothing.
Somebody today, okay, this is a spoiler on ACOTAR in Crescent City. Somebody today was like, I've been hearing on Instagram, they're like, I don't know, people are telling me I really need to go Crescent City. Are they gonna are those two worlds gonna connect or something? And I was like, I don't know.
But just go read them. They're a really good read.
Yeah, it's like when your friend is reading ACOTAR for the first time and they're like, oh, I love Tamlin. And you're like, he's great.
Great one right there. Yep. He's a real keeper, that Tamlin. We love him so much.
So great, so cute, and they're so hot.
Yes, and I'm trying to read Crescent City 2 again, and it's so nice. It's when you're reading a book that's brand new and you just got that brand new world, it's always hard to even go and read a book a second time round, even if it's an awesome book. And when you're getting through that first little bit as well, you're just always I don't know, right now she's with Rune and they're just kind of, I don't know, it's like the uni slum house. And I'm not
frat house. Yeah.
I much prefer the ACOTAR world. I prefer those more fantasy worlds. I think that's the thing I've only ever had an issue with Crescent City, is because it's that real modern day.
Yeah.
Takes away a little bit of the magic. And when they talk about fawns and that they're really hot and sexy, and I'm just imagining this animal, half human, and I'm sort of like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't really see it. Yeah.
Floats my boat, but okay.
Yeah. Angel wings, I can get behind.
Exactly. But
Fairy
yeah, like
lips?
fawn hooves.
I don't know.
Fawn hooves are a little bit interesting.
Every time I read that in that series, I immediately think about, did you ever watch the cartoon Hercules? And the little like the trainer of Hercules who's like
Right.
half man, half goat. That's what I'm picturing.
Oh no. It's not the look you're after. It was
Not the
look.
look, obviously, but it's like that's all that I can call up in my head. Even when they're talking about Juniper being this great dancer, I'm like envisioning like
no, I can't exactly imagine hooves in little ballet slippers. They just don't exactly work for me. I just can't actually physically imagine it. And I definitely can't imagine that being brought to real life in a movie or something. So anyway, there's some of my little gripes about Crescent City, but the story itself is amazing. And the last 100 pages of Crescent City 2 blow your mind. So that is why I'm so excited for number 3. So excited.
So maybe right now we should do a little bit of like kind of housekeeping, announcing to listeners kind of some upcoming things so that they know what's coming in our podcast. Definitely. So listeners, number one, if you have not read Crescent City, you got to start it like today. Put the podcast down, go start Crescent City, get through 1 and 2 so that you're good to go by January 30th. You don't want spoilers. You want to be able to participate in the fun of the internet. We are releasing this episode right after Christmas, right before the new year. And then we'll have an Iron Flame kind of wrap-up episode. We're not fully putting Iron Flame away forever, but it's the right now wrap-up. And then we're going to do an episode on Golds, and that'll be the first 2 weeks of January. And then the rest of January and February are going to be dedicated to Crescent City and ACOTAR and the Massverse and SJM. We're going to do some potential synopses of the 2 books. So if you aren't doing a reread and you just kind of want the major plot points, we're going to do that. We're going to talk about our theories prior to book 3 coming out. So then you can immediately be like, oh, wow, they were right or they were really wrong, which will be really fun. And then, of course, we'll do all of our reactions, all of our theories, all of our thoughts after the release. But, after the next couple of episodes, it's going to just be all Crescent City, all ACOTAR.
That's it. It is a major release. Like, this is going to be huge. And for anyone that has not read Crescent City but is obsessed with ACOTAR or Throne of Glass, get onto this series because trust me, when you finish the number 2 book, Crescent City 2, you are going to want to read number 3. You're going to love it. So get into that. We're going to be so excited to bring you all those episodes next year in 2024 in January. So we can't wait for you to join us. But without further ado, let's get into today's celebratory episode, holiday special. We are going to be having drinks and fun, and we are going to be starting with some very fun romantasy questions and games that we're going to be playing, aren't we, Allie?
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's kind of like a celebration of the amazingness that was 2023 in the romantasy world.
I know. We had so many good books out this year. I feel like I don't even know if 2024 is going to be able to cut it the way that 2023 with Fourth Wing, Iron Flame.
I know.
So many great books.
There were so many great debuts of like first books in series. There were so many great releases that were, second or even third or fourth books in series. It was just a really, really great year.
It's a huge year. Okay, so we're starting with a question around, let's talk about our top 5 romantasy smutty books of 2023. Allie, what is your top smutty romantasy books of 2023?
Do you want me to start with I have them ranked like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I might start with number 5.
Yep.
And then go all the way up, just so you guys know. So my number 5 is Glint, which is the 4th book in that's the 3rd book in the Plated Prisoner series. Is it the 4th or the 3rd? Glint, I know. It's like
I think Glint is number 4. Glint is number 3. I think.
Yes. Actually, I'm remembering it right now because I did this last night. The reason I like Glint over some of the other books in the series is because that's the one where the romance really picks up and the
Yes.
spice really picks up, and it's sort of like
Mhm.
the spiciest book and the best. Like there's a lot of tension too, because in that book she's still kind of with Midas but kind of not,
Yes.
and but like
I
then they're in the castle,
know,
so
and it's like transitioning, and oh yeah, so I know I love the third book is like the game changer. It's the game changer
right,
book, and then the
it is.
fourth one is just then growing on that even further.
Mhm,
But no,
mhm.
love it. Yeah, 100%. All right,
So
what's
that's
your
my
number
number
4?
5.
Mhm.
Okay, so now my number 4. Some people might be surprised by this, by where this is falling, but I have to say what I'm gonna say. My number 4 is Iron Flame. Um,
Ooh,
that low
yes.
on the list. So it
Mhm,
obviously made the top
mhm.
5,
I mean,
but I just gotta say, there were some better romantasy books that I read in
yeah.
2023. Don't get me wrong, loved Iron Flame. Um, but there were things about it that there was just a little slow in the middle, which we've talked a lot about on this podcast.
Exactly. I know. I mean, definitely from a spice perspective, it was definitely there. It had more spice than Fourth Wing, but there was just those slow parts of the book and the parts where I think, Violet and Xaden weren't together for like almost the first half of the book. And that just took away just that little bit. But look, it's still in your top 5. It's still in your top 5. So
Yeah,
it's still an
yeah,
amazing read. It's still one of your top romantic books of 2023. So I think even making it to number
absolutely.
4
I
is
read a lot. I read a lot of books.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
okay, number 3 is, and again, this isn't necessarily that this came out in 2023, it's just that I read it in 2023. So, number 3 for me is Crown of Gilded Bones, which is the
Ooh.
third book in the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer Armentrout.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah, so again, that third book, similar to Glint,
Mhm.
it's where the romance really picks up, the spice picks up, but also the tension in the world, the politics in the world. All
Yes.
the major players are finally starting to, make their moves. And I just thought that that
Yeah.
was such a good book. And it
Yeah.
really weaves the politics and all the battles and the different factions
Yeah,
warring over the world
100%.
with the spice really well.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I probably read that last year. That one was, I
yeah,
think, something I read in 2022. But yeah, I mean, though that whole series is so spicy. I love Jennifer Armentrout's spice. There's no
I know.
it doesn't stop. It just every time there's a bedroom scene, there is a spice scene, and I
Oh,
love it.
yeah. Yeah, if you really, really like, especially I think if you are like a big romance reader and often find fantasy like is not your taste, I do feel like Jennifer Armentrout is a really good option for you to get a little bit of the fantasy, but still a lot of romance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. She doesn't go too far. I mean, there's still the big world building and everything, but it's maybe not quite to the same level as, say, Sarah J. Maas and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Rebecca Yarros, that kind of thing. So
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
awesome. Awesome. Okay, that's your
Okay,
number 3. What's your number 2?
my number 2, Jennifer
Mhm.
Armentrout's making another appearance here, but my number 2 is actually A Light in the Flame, which is the
Ooh.
second book in the prequel series to From
Yes.
Blood and Ash. So, there's, like, the main series, and then there's the prequel series. There's, like, a lot. And that second book was really, really good.
That is
Really,
sitting
really
here
fun and
on my to be
sweet.
read pile. I want to read it. I'm so keen to read it. I have like Caraval and I have other things that I just go, okay, this is
I
I
know.
it's so hard to pick. What do you pick? But I'm so excited. And I loved the first one of that prequel. I loved it so much. So
Yeah,
I'm going to love the second one. As I said, I don't
love
think
it. Yeah, you're gonna
Jennifer
absolutely
Armentrout,
love it.
she never does you wrong. Like she never does you wrong.
No.
You know what you're going to get, and it's always satisfying. It is so
Yeah, yeah.
satisfying.
Yeah, it is super satisfying. I always just, like, inhale those. I have to just plan that, like, I will not be able to stop reading when I start one of those books. I have
Exactly.
no control with those
Exactly. For
books.
the next 24 hours, family, I am not available. Mum is
Leave me alone.
indisposed. Leave me
Yes.
alone. Do not come and knock on my door and say that you're hungry. Go away.
Fend for yourself.
Okay, your number 1. What is your number 1 top romantasy smutty book of 2023, Allie? What have you gone?
It has to be Fourth Wing. It has to be Fourth Wing.
Hey!
It's probably a surprise to anyone, but Yeah, it's Fourth Wing. Mostly, I just find Fourth Wing to be so rereadable, and to me,
Mhm.
that is the marker of a really excellent book,
Yeah.
is that it's just so enjoyable to return to the book, even when you know everything that's gonna happen, because it's just so well structured, well plotted.
Yes.
So that's my
Oh, I
number
know.
one.
It is such I feel like it's going to be a book that transcends the ages, a bit like Harry Potter, and that where it hasn't aged. It hasn't aged. It just, new generations come in and love that book. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's going to happen to Fourth Wing as well. I read it 4 times. And I did not
Yeah,
get tired
read
of
it
it.
3.
Like, I'm struggling to get back into Crescent City 2 for a second time. Like, I'm just having to try and push myself, go, right, I'm going to get into it soon. I'm going to get into it. Whereas, yeah, Fourth Wing, I just could not stop reading it. I didn't want to leave that world. And that really says something about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, now I'm struggling because now I'm like, oh, have I picked right? It's so hard. There
You
was so
can amend your choices at any time.
True, I can. But I also want to mix it up a little bit for people and keep it interesting. Okay, so my number 5, top romantasy smutty books of 2023. Taking into account that I'm also adding the smut spicy factor to this and thinking about
Okay.
some of the spiciest books that I've read this year. All right, so the first one I've got, which may not have come out this year, but I read them this year, and I've gone a bit more serious here, is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. Have you read those ones?
I have not read those. I have to add those to my TBR right away.
Yes, I can give you a recommendation. I can give you something that you're going to love. Oh my God, you've got like 5 books that you can get into and you're going to be obsessed with them. Okay, so
That
this
is really
is
exciting. It's very rare that there's like a whole like 5-book series that I haven't read.
yeah, 3, like, and then there's like a new one coming out, and then she's going to keep creating them because basically it's around. So the main character is Amelia, who is in Italy, and then she gets wrapped up with one of the 7 princes of hell, Wrath, because she has to call on him, and then she ends up having to go into the world of hell to try and, I think it was to rescue her sister. It is very fantasy. It is very spicy. The MMC is, like, Wrath is hot. He is really,
Okay.
really delicious.
I'm super excited. I'm super
Morally
excited.
grey, chiseled, dark, good looking. It's just everything you could want in a spicy book. It was so satisfying, just a really satisfying read. Great story, great world building, but also relatively easy to read. Like, I went through the books in, maybe a couple of weeks. Like, just really just went from one to the next. It was really easy reading as well. So really,
Okay,
really enjoyable.
I'm adding it to my want to read on Goodreads right now. So please hold.
It's not very often, guys, that I find a book that Allie hasn't read. So there we go. I'm excited to have something to share. So that was
Okay.
Kingdom of the
This
Wicked
first
by
one is
Kerry
added to my TBR.
Yes. All right. My number 4 is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Have you read
Okay, I
that
also
one?
haven't read this.
Right. So this one came with an interesting story because
I'm
I
gonna add this
had
too.
seen this book and I'd held off because I saw someone give it a bad review. One of the reviewers that I really love, she did not finish this book. She was like, it got too spicy, it lost its story, and she stopped reading it. So I didn't read this for a while until I read a really positive review from someone else. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. So this is about Persephone and Hades, kind of set in a modern day kind of, it's almost a little bit like Crescent City, but probably a smaller book, easier reading. And if you love that kind of Persephone, Hades, that kind of Greek gods kind of element, it's really, really enjoyable reading. Again, really spicy, morally grey character. There's actually, I believe, 2 more books of that, which I haven't read yet, but the first one, I absolutely loved it. I loved it.
I'm excited. If I saw a review that was like, I didn't like this because it was too spicy, I would be like, maybe that's the kind of book for me.
Exactly. I know. I'm just like, I'm actually just going to go and put that on my to be read pile now because that is
Yeah,
exactly what I want from my
that's
books.
what I want.
Which now leads me into my number 3, which I've got to say is one of the spiciest trilogies I have ever read. Like, this is my number 1 spiciest I've ever read, ever.
You read it this year? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and like almost to the point that it went too much for me. Now, this probably doesn't quite fall into the fantasy element so much. It's a bit more modern day, almost a little bit Sons of Anarchy gangstery sort of vibe. But this is the Ravenhood series.
I hadn't heard of that
heard of
either.
the Romantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I like because it's not like I really often stick to just the fantasy romance aspect. But I'm open.
I know. Well, I saw artwork about this. So one of the artists that I follow was obsessed with this series and they kept sharing them. And I was like, you know what? If it's worth art, it's worth reading. So I went.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like we are talking the spiciest of the spicy. Like the first book was insane. Like I'm talking like menage a trois. I'm talking like sharing. It really just pushes your limits, you know. And I was there kind of a little bit going, oh, like, is this too much for me? Where's this going to go? And then the second book kicks in and like the real romance kicks up. And I'm like, oh, and then like the main MMC, I'm not going to give too much away, but when the main MMC comes into it, it's just game changing. And it's actually a really good read, but I would say you've almost got to get the first one is super spicy. The others are really spicy as well, but it kind of this type of story it is changes.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend this as a full trilogy, but you've got to be into spice. You've got to be into spice, almost into it being a little bit kinky, because that's what it's all about.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I just said there's nothing that's ever too spicy for me. And that's generally true as long as the spice and plot are equal. Like, I don't care how spicy it is as long as, like, the plot of the book is separate from the spice and the romance. Like, I want there to be other things going on.
Exactly.
Now, I'll read anything, but for me to truly enjoy it, that's why I like fantasy romance, because there's often these, you know, like epic kind of plots going on at the same time that there's like spice.
I know. And having that world building and the spice and the romance all linked in together is what I'm all about and what I enjoy. Yeah. And yes, this book in the first one at about the 3/4 point, I was kind of like, where is this all going? It's all spice and not much story. But then the story does kick in. So if you do read this and you get about 3/4 of the way through and you're thinking there's no story here, it's not really going anywhere, keep going, because it hits in at the very end of the book. And then the second book is where the world building and all that really kicks up. So yes,
okay.
So all right. That is my number 3. Number 2 is going to be a bit of a shock. And I've put these two together, which is maybe why it's sitting at number 2. And that is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. So I'm kind of doing mine as
if you put them as a series, like, because you've kind of ranked yours as series, which makes sense. If you put them as a series, I think it definitely might be a number 2 for me too.
Well, the reality is that I read the whole series this year, so I feel like I can't just rate the one book out of that series. I just have to rate the whole thing. And as we said before, Fourth Wing is just amazing. It's phenomenal. On its own, it would probably be number 1, but it's probably, compared to some of the books I've read, it's maybe a little bit less spicy than like more spicy. In saying that, I would say it's the Goldilocks level of spicy. I think it's the perfect amount of spice for the story, which, you know, it's not so much that takes away from the story, and it's really enjoyable when it comes around. So, and as we spoke about before, Iron Flame maybe just dropped that little bit, but I'm super excited for book 3. I feel like Iron Flame is preparing us for that third novel. But, yes.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
So that's my number 2.
Okay, I'm so excited. What's your number 1?
The Plated Prisoner series. Gold, glint. Oh my God, Slade, guys, Slade. Like, that is all you need to know, Slade. And that spice is, it's magic. It is so dirty. It is so
it's really dirty, but there's also less of it than like other books.
Delicious.
So it's like when you get it, it's really good, but then it's not as often or frequent as other romantasy books, I would say.
It's in that Goldilocks kind of level, but it's on the top of the Goldilocks level. Like,
yes, I would agree.
It's so good.
A great series. I'm so happy that you love that series so much.
I loved it. And we're obviously going to dedicate a whole episode just to that series, because for those who have read it, you will know this is an awesome series and it deserves its own podcast. So we're going to give that to you and go through all our gold questions. But yeah, no, it was such a good read. And yeah, just for, as I said, taking into consideration romantasy and spiciness, that was number 1. 100%.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I read those right after I finished Fourth Wing. So they were my Fourth Wing hangover books, and they did a really good job helping
They
me
did
move on
such a
from
good
Fourth Wing.
job. They healed me from Iron Flame. I was broken, like a broken bird. I was not coping with that ending. And then I read that after Allie's recommendation, and I feel like I have now healed. And now I'm okay.
And now you're broken from the end of Gold, and now you need somebody else to heal you.
I can't do it. I just can't. Why do I keep putting myself through this pain of these books? Why?
I know. I ask myself the same thing every day.
Oh. All right. We've got to keep moving through these questions. We've got to keep moving. All right. So our next question is any non-smutty books that you loved in 2023?
Yeah, so I didn't rank these. I just kind of wanted to put a couple of plugs for some books that were not smutty, but were really, really good. So this year, one of the books that was released this year that I thought was really good was called Starling House. It's kind of like a haunted house series. There's a slight romance. There's no spice or anything. They're just kind of like, learning to like each other. Really, really great, especially if you like haunted house. Or I read it around Halloween, so it was kind of nice. It was a 5-star book for me. Another 5-star book for me. Yeah. Another 5-star book for me is a little bit older of a series, but it's called The Midnight Bargain. It's just like this little fun romance with a little bit of magic. And it's set in like the 1800s, and it's like about a woman kind of bargaining with spirits to get out of having to marry somebody, and then she ends up, having a romance, and it's really cute. It's really fun. It's really light. And then another kind of huge book that I loved this year was Song of Achilles. So it's really good. A little bit of romance as well. But, it's by the same person who wrote Circe. So if you've read Circe, also a really, really great book about Achilles. And I cannot say enough good things about that book. So those are my really, really good reads.
I feel like I should try to be excited about these, but as soon as you're like, no spice, I'm just like, yeah, well, okay, I need that palate cleanser for my next spicy book. That's your great in between when you want to so then you can have that real shock and enjoyment when you get into your next spicy novel. I mean, we do have to have a break every now and again. So, my non-smutty books that I loved in 2023. So the first one is Once Upon a Broken Heart. This, why is it in the young adult? It had, not only did it not really have much spice, we barely even got anything from even, spoilers, the kissing perspective of the main two characters. Like, I'm just like, we need more. I just want so much more. I mean, come on, I've read young adult books with more spice than this. It was quite low in the spice. In saying that, I adore this world. I adore this series. This is a 5-star series for me, and I still put it up super highly. I don't even mind. I'm forgiving you, Stephanie Garber, for not giving us more spice. Could you please progress to the adult books and give us like these, but with additional spice? That would be fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really hope so, because I love her worlds. I love the Caraval world. I love this world. And I really hope I would love a more adult series from Stephanie Garber.
Yeah. Okay, so my next one, which does have spice, but for me, it's a very low level of spice. And this is a book that I'm a little bit mixed about. This is Divine Rivals. So this had a huge post Fourth Wing following. Everyone was like, read this after Fourth Wing. Now, this is an entirely different style of book to Fourth Wing. And for me, look, it was a lovely book. I'm looking forward to the sequel, but it's nothing on Fourth Wing. It was just a really, really different kind of novel. Very sweet, very lovely. It did have one spicy scene, but in saying that, I would call it a Downton Abbey type of spicy scene. Like, it was very proper. It was very sweet. It wasn't dirty on the ground. It was no Play to Prisoner series, let's just say that. It was very prim and proper. It was Downton Abbey spice. So that's why I'm putting it in my non-smutty book.
I also read that, and everyone was talking about it online after Fourth Wing, saying like, oh, it's the best book. It's, if you liked Fourth Wing, you'll like this. And I read it and I was like, what? I was really confused. And unfortunately, I do feel like that actually impacted my enjoyment of the book, because I was just expecting it to be something so much different.
It got
you know, if
sold the
I had
wrong
gone
way.
into it knowing that it was YA, knowing that it was actually a little bit more just romance than fantasy romance, I might have liked it more. By the time this episode comes out, I think the sequel will have come out. So maybe the sequel will be really good. I don't know. I don't know if I'll, you know, I'm excited to read it. I don't know if I'll prioritize reading it right away, like right on release date.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm with you.
It was look, it was worth a read. It's probably more of a 3, maybe 3.5-star book for
I
me.
think
It
you gave
wasn't. Yeah. It was nice,
like
but it
it's
wasn't
a solid book,
exceptional.
but it's not anything extra amazing.
Yeah. But it was sweet. It was just kind of a sweet book. Definitely shouldn't have been put as a recommendation after Fourth Wing. It is a totally different style of book, completely different. And I think we're all just so desperate after Fourth Wing to find something that, look, it'll fill in your time, but there are other amazing books out there, like the Play to Prisoner series, that you should get into.
Yes.
So, and then the last one I have, which did have spice, but not in the way I wanted it, was One Dark Window. Have you read that, Allie?
I have read that duology. I really like the world. You might hear more about that book from me later in this episode. But yeah, I wanted it to just be a little bit more than it was in all aspects.
It was leading, I mean, I don't know whether to give away the spoilers or not in this, but it was leading up to it, and then the whole story changed, and then
in the second
we
book.
never got it in the sequel. Like, it was like, it just kind of, we got something else, but wasn't, and I was just, and then I kind of got to the end and I was like, wait, what, where did, we didn't get that epic scene. Like, we didn't get that joining of two characters that I wanted, and now I feel empty. But the story itself was amazing. I loved the story. I loved the world building. I loved the characters. It almost felt like we lost a chapter. I almost felt like I went back and I was like, wait, did I miss a chapter somewhere? Like, maybe I missed it.
I know. And it was cool. I mean, it was really cool what happened in book 2, but it was also just, it was unexpected. If there had been like a third book, you know, where like we got those moments with both sets of the romances going on, I would have been really happy. But knowing that it's a duology, knowing that it's done, it's wrapped up, it just kind of left me wanting a little bit more. But it was a really, really solid series for sure.
It was an amazing book. From a romantasy, just like world building and that, it was amazing. It was really, really good. Loved that. Okay, moving on to our next question, which is our top 5 MMCs for 2023.
I'm so excited.
What have you got, Allie?
Let's go back and forth on this one.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah,
all right.
We might have some similar ones. Okay. So my number 5, and again, I don't know if this counts, but I'm putting it in here because I just love it. Yeah. My number 5 is actually Jax from the series. I just, as much like, even though I wish there had been more of Jax and more like spicy scenes, I just love him as a character. He's just so fun, and like, I love his brand of morally gray. He was, you know, just he's so suave, I guess, and I really like Jax. So that's my number 5.
Jax so much. I love Jax so much. Okay.
Maybe Jax will appear on your list.
Let's see. My number 5 is almost a number 5 because I feel like I haven't read these books in a while, but I'm still going to put him in there because he did fall into some of my books at some stage in this, and that is Rhysand from ACOTAR, which, I mean, I always feel like I'm more connected to the characters that I've read recently, right? It's like I'm always more in love with them than I am with the books that I read like a year or so ago. And I guess for me, I haven't read ACOTAR in a little while now until I'm doing a reread shortly. And he did kind of annoy me a little bit in A Court of Silver Flame. He was so just, I don't know, a different side of his character came out more in that book, which was interesting, like, particularly against Nesta. But he's still, I mean, he's delicious. He is my Henry Cavill. He's just everything you could want in a romantasy MMC. So he is getting onto my list for 2023. I'm putting Rhysand at number 5.
Okay. I haven't read a single SJM book this year because I read them all in 2022. So you won't see any SJMs anywhere for me. It'll be interesting in like 2024 with some of these, like with the sequels of some of these books coming out in a time when there's an SJM book coming out, like how they'll all stack up for me. So I think that'll be interesting.
I know, definitely. All right, number 4. Who is your number 4?
My number 4 is the MMC from the Kingdom of Crows trilogy. His name is Lorcan. Have you read
Yes.
that series?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah, so it's a 3-book series. The first one is called, I think, House of Beating Wings or something.
Yeah.
It's the Kingdom of Crows trilogy.
Wow.
On paper, it sounds like a weird world. It's like this like bird. Yeah. It's like this, there's Fae, and then there's like this race of bird shifters. And
But it's really hot, guys. It's really spicy. It's amazing.
It's really hot. And the main character, Lorcan, the MMC Lorcan, is like the king of the birds, of the crows. And he has shadow powers. So
Ooh.
love shadow
We
powers.
love some shadow daddies. Love some shadow daddies. Yes.
So that's my number 4.
Okay, I love it.
number
I love it. I've got to put that down as one to read. Sounds like a good read.
Yeah.
All right. What? Oh, yeah, mine. Okay, my number 4. All right. All right. I've already talked about this book. I'm going with Raven from One Dark Window. So our main MMC. He is dark, morally grey. He was a great character. I just loved him throughout this series. As I say, all I wanted more. I wanted more relationship, but he was just a wonderful MMC, and I really loved this introduction for me into this really dark romantasy world. I hadn't really explored that yet, so that was my opening for more dark romantasies down the track.
Yeah, that's good. He did not make my list, but he is a really good one.
Notable mention.
Probably if we had had more time with him, he would have made my list, but just didn't get enough time.
100%. All right, who is your number 3?
My number 3 is Slade from Plated Prisoners, which is kind of low. It's when you hear my number 2 and my number 1, I think you'll understand. But my number 3 is Slade. He's such a good character. He is like morally gray and all the perfect
right places.
Perfect level of spice. I could say so many things about Slade. He's amazing.
I know. He's amazing. He is so good. All right.
Probably on your list.
My number 3 is Jax.
Okay.
How cute. I love Jax. I love Jax so much. My heart broke for him through particularly book 2 and 3 of Once Upon a Broken Heart. And I fell in love with him, and I became obsessed with this relationship. Like, he's that broken kind of guy that you just want to heal. You know, you're just like, I can fix him. This is all going to be better. I don't care if you kill me with your kiss. I don't care. Just kiss me. I get it. Yeah. I loved him so much. And I think it's that level of obsession. If I get to that level where I'm somewhat obsessed with them, that is when they're making it to the top of my list. So that is why it's number 3.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, you're number 2. Oh my God, I feel like wait, can I predict? I predict they're both going to be from Fourth Wing.
They are not, but that's a good prediction. There was a time where I considered that, I will say. But I don't think my number 2 will surprise you, just on how much I've talked about these books. My number 2 is Ash / Nyktos from the prequel series that Jennifer Armentrout had. Interestingly, the main MMC from the main series, the From Blood and Ash series, does not make my list.
I know.
And I don't know if I haven't read it in a while or what, but I am obsessed with Ash / Nyktos in this prequel series.
I so agree with you. Like, I didn't read that this year, and I haven't read the most recent sequel, so I haven't read it, but I was obsessed with him in the first book. Like, he's even better. He's even better than the MMC from the first lot of novels. I think
that prequel series is better than the original From Blood and Ash series. So many people have talked to me on Instagram saying, "Oh, I've read From Blood and Ash, but I don't know if I want to read that prequel series." And I'm like, "You have to read it. It is better than the original series."
Exactly. And it's just, I don't know, there's so much of a hate to love kind of relationship going on as well, but he just can't stay away from her. And you just get that feeling of where he doesn't want to like her and he's angry at her, but he also is super attracted to her and he cannot stay away. And now they're kind of connected. And I have to try and go back and remember what the story was all about because it's been well over 12 months for me, but I agree with that. That is such a good pick. Nick Jost is a really good one. Amazing.
Yeah. So and he's also like super powerful, a little bit broken, you know, like just great.
All the things. We love to fix a broken one, girls. We love it. All right. My number 2 is Slade.
Okay.
From the
he had to be on there.
I had to go there from the Guild Plated Prisoner series. He is, as I've said before, he is delicious. He is everything I want from an MMC. He is dark. He is her villain. He is a king. He is got dark shadow daddy powers. Like, he is just everything I could want. And yeah, he's just like, I would marry him. I would marry him in a heartbeat and be a very, very happy woman. I'm sorry to my husband, but that's just true.
I saw this video the other day that was like, I am so glad that I discovered Romantasy after I was married, because if I had been reading these books while I was trying to date men, it would have been completely destroyed my chances of ever finding like a marriage. And I was like, that's true for me too.
I know. Your list would have just gotten so much longer. You'd just be like, do you have shadow powers? Can you just like not like me initially and then slowly grow to like me over the time? Maybe just rescue me a few times. I'll throw myself into dangerous situations. You can just rescue me and I'll assess you.
Empower me to rescue myself, you know, like, and if you could have wings, that would be really good too.
Yeah. And then just like stare at me from across the room, build up your muscles so that you're nice and bulky, stare at me, and then just like come and just like lean into my space and make me like,
like the double arm, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, and obviously they'd have to be able to talk in my head, mind talk. That's
naturally
obvious. That's the prerequisite.
And no, definitely very high expectations for poor guys nowadays. As a matter of fact, I feel like I need to do a whole podcast or like reel on like what guys can do to like improve their chances of being with us to become more like Romantasy MMC. Like what they can do. Like they can go work out, they can work on their staring, their intensity, their leaning into us, let some stubble grow, you know, just a few things they can do. Make sure that they smell like wood, pine, and snow. Like
and the night sky. You know,
that's right. Leather.
Yeah.
We'll create a fragrance.
They need to also just be able to like somehow let us know that they're paying attention to us when it seems like they're not, like across the room, you know? Like we need to be able to like flirt without ever indicating that we're flirting. So I think you should make that video. I think it's a public service for you to make that video.
Exactly. It's the least we can do. Do you want that, girls? Do you need that in your life? Do your husbands or boyfriends, or are you single and you need someone to help teach these guys how to be good MMCs? Like there's a simple recipe here. And once they meet this recipe, boom, you've got like 100 girls interested in you. Like, boom, it's so easy. So easy. Just read a few of these books and hello. All right.
I have a feeling you have the same number one. Everyone has number one. My number one is Zayden. How could it not be?
Me too. My number one is also Zayden.
He's all the things. He doesn't have wings, but he flies a dragon, and he can talk in her mind, and he stares at her, and he is very muscly. Into her space.
And there was that hate to love. And he's tortured in ways that we can't understand, but like it's like she's fixing him. He's also sort of her villain, and he rescues her multiple times, but also empowers her in his own way. It's just everything you could want in an MMC. It's just everything.
He's great. He's perfect. He's amazing.
The only problem is that he's only 23. Like it's just like I need him to be about 30. Well, probably older than that for me, really. But, you know, it's just like I always can't quite imagine it with a 23-year-old. I'm like,
at least 30 is kind of like the floor of.
Exactly. If you look at like Henry Cavill and you look at him from like 20 to 40, which he is now, he was peaking at about 30 to 35. Like, that was his peak. Like, he'd grown the stubble. He was just more chiseled. Like, that is their peak years. 30 to 35 for sure.
Perfect.
Amazing. All right, moving on to our next question. And we have got, if Amazon gave you 5 of your fan casts that we did in our last podcast, who would they be? All right, so Amazon has come to you, Allie, and they have said, we love what you gave us in that podcast, and we're going to let you have 5 of them. We're going to go, we're going to get them to sign contracts. They're going to be in our Fourth Wing series. Who are you picking?
Okay, number 5 is Jacob Elordi. And I didn't pick Jacob Elordi. Yes. You did. That being said, the day after we recorded our episode, I went and watched Saltburn and was obsessed with Jacob Elordi. And I would even tell Amazon that I don't care what character he plays. As long as he's in the TV show.
He can be in it. He can be Dane. He can be Gary. He can be Zayden.
He could be the Sage. I don't really care who he is.
Suddenly, it's like, suddenly I want to be a Venom. I don't know why, but I want to be a Venom.
Yeah.
Can't get more morally great than that.
Maybe the Sage is young and hot.
Yeah, I know. And he's like 1.9. Like, he's what, 6'4"?
He's really
tall. 6'5".
Yeah, he's really tall. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Do you want me to give my 5? Do you want me to? Do you want to go back and forth? Okay. I went with Hugo Weaving for Taryn as my number 5 because I think he'd just be perfect, and I have to do that service to everyone. Not that we've been given some great recommendations from some of our fans that have commented, and they have given us some great suggestions, like Jared Butler. Oh, who else has there been? Like, there's been a few that have been like some really, really good suggestions.
Elba, which is who Rebecca Yaros said she always imagined Taryn being.
Elba,
we heard,
but for me, Hugo Weaving. Yeah. But yes,
they're really great recommendations.
Also great. Yes. Okay. Who's your number 4?
Okay, my number 4. This might surprise people, but I just like really, really love the idea of Julianne Moore as General Sorrengail.
Yes, I love that one. I love that one so much. Yes.
Yeah. And just having her presence would just make the TV show so much more successful.
It would be so A-class. It would be so, she would just, she would get that mix of being that sort of older actor, but then having, I don't know, just that sort of, I think she'd marry up the darkness with being a mum and feeling like she's doing things that are maybe considered bad, but that she has that intention behind it. She would really balance the complexities of Lilith, I think.
Yeah. Sure. Yes, I completely agree. Yeah.
I love it.
Right.
I'm sticking with my dragons because I feel like Cate Blanchett has to be my voice for Sigale. She has to be my voice for Sigale.
It's a really great voice for Sigale. Yeah.
As I said, for me, there's those voice actors, and even watching Lord of the Rings and seeing how they did the voices through the mind, they actually did a really good job of it. So I hope the Fourth Wing can kind of jump on that, see how they did that in Lord of the Rings, how they had Cate Blanchett speaking through the mind. And it actually it was actually decent. It didn't feel weird or awkward. It worked really, really well. And I think you need that voice to make it really, for people to take it seriously, for people to actually really go, oh, okay, Sigale means business. She's badass.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
All right, who's your number 3?
My number 3, will probably surprise no one. My number 3 is Liam Hemsworth as Liam.
I love that.
I can accept.
Liam is Liam. Liam Hemsworth is Liam, guys. It's just, that's what it's got to be. I'm sorry that he's not 23. He's more like 35, but that's okay.
How old? I think he's younger than I am.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he's like
because I think Chris Hemsworth is a similar age to me. I'm pretty sure he's the same age as me. But and then Liam is a few years younger, but he's not young. But anyway, we're fine with this. It's like 10 years, same. It's all good. We love Liam, and he can absolutely be. Liam Hemsworth can be our Liam any day of the week.
He's
33. Okay. That's it. 10-ish years. We can work with that. All right. My number 3 is Karen Gillan as Mira. I
really, really love Karen Gillan as Mira. I'm really excited about it. I think it's such a fun I think she would just be such a great Mira because she's so funny, but she can be so intense. I think she would just do it so well.
Exactly.
And she's
She can do the
tall.
action. She's tall. You'll really get that feeling of the difference between her and Violet. I think she'd play a great older sister, and I think she'd do the action. I think she'd work on the complexities, and she would also have the humor. And I think she'd really play to that humor. Like when she goes up to Brennan and she punches him, I can just totally see Karen just nailing that so well.
100%. Yeah.
Who is your number 2?
Okay, this is another one that will probably not surprise anyone, but I have to get Taylor Swift as Andarna.
That's okay. We can support this. We can support this. We know everyone. Alley is a Swiftie. She loves her Taylor Swift, and she needs Andarna to be voiced by Taylor Swift. Also, with the possible expectation that she does a soundtrack for Fourth Wing.
Exactly. And I do think it would just work so well. I think she can pull off being kind of teenagery, but then kind of young, and then being older. I just...
Yep. And we know Rebecca Yarros is also a Swiftie. She would support this. I feel like she would 100% be behind you in getting Taylor Swift on board. I think that she can make that happen.
I think so. All right. Who's your number 2?
All right. I had Ana de Armas as Violet. I know she's a bit aged out. I know she's a bit aged out, but she is so beautiful. And I have to have someone that has the acting chops and the beauty and that mixture of innocence and seductiveness that I kind of want to see in Violet. I want it to be half innocent and half seductive. And I feel like Anna actually has a way of doing that. She somehow, her look, she's
totally agree.
Got that mix, and she's just got such great acting chops. I know she's a little bit aged out, but I'm sure with the right makeup, she can look 23 and it'll be fine. Totally fine. Love it. All right. Who is your number 1?
My number 1 is Charles Melton as Xaden. I love his lips. His lips are the lips of Xaden. So I have to have him.
My number 1 is Charles Melton as Xaden. Yes.
Oh my God, I'm so happy that you love him so much for Xaden.
He's perfect. He is so, and even when I went and listened to him, I'm like, does he have the voice though? Like, and I went and listened to it, and I'm like, yes, he does. He does have the voice. He's got the lips. He's tall.
He's got like this, the
jawline. He's got mixed. He's got that beautiful golden skin. He's got the hair. He sort of is Xaden. He really is Xaden. And that says a lot because let's be honest, our expectations of Xaden are really, really high. Like we, they're not quite right. We're like, nope, sorry, not right. Like you're a little bit too short. You're a little bit too, like you're just not quite Xaden. He actually has that. And I feel like he could really bring the darkness to Xaden's character as well. He'd really, oh, yes.
And it's rude in such a good way. Oh, so you introduced me to Jacob Elordi, and I introduced you to Charles Melton. So we're really doing each other services here.
Exactly. We're looking after each other. We are looking after each other. And we did not plan that, guys. That was totally random. We just, this couple. I cannot wait. We haven't actually released that podcast to everyone yet, that reel of who we did our top 5. So I cannot wait for everyone to see our top 5 Xaden because
we have some really good options in there, but obviously we both have a clear choice.
100%. Okay, we've got 2 final questions before we finish today's episode. So the next one, our second last one, is the top 3 fantasy worlds in 2023 that you would like to live in.
Okay, so I'm just gonna run through them quick because there's just I just did 3. I don't know why I did 3.
Do you want to just do 1 or 2?
No, I'll give you all 3. Okay. Did we say top 5?
Oh,
I don't know.
I had 3, but
I had 3 too. For some reason, I heard you say 5. Sorry, guys.
I've been drinking a margarita. There is a very good chance I said 5 when I meant 3.
Yeah, yes. I also have been drinking. So if this is not our most structured podcast,
we said this was going to get a very loose today, very loose podcast.
I did add extra whiskey to cut the sugar of this, so this is not a very big glass for the amount of whiskey that was in this drink.
All right, your top 3.
My number 3. Top 3. The One Dark Window world, because even though I didn't love those books. I thought the world itself was super unique, was one of the coolest, most interesting worlds I experienced this year
Yeah.
with the magic cards and just all of the cool things
Yes,
going
it's
on. And
really
I just thought it would
different.
be so fun to have one of those cards and
Yes.
um, have the questing to have those cards.
Yes.
So that was my number 3. I just really, really liked
Love
that
it.
whole
Love
world.
it.
Um,
All right, number 2.
My number 2 is the From Blood and Ash / Flesh in the Fire
Oh,
series.
that's
It's
just
just
because you want Nick Toss.
it's just basically I just want Nick Dose, but it's also such an epic world because there's vampires and werewolves and zombies, but they all have different names, and there's gods, and then there's gods of the gods and
Oh, gods
other
of gods.
gods of
I
the
know.
gods.
But then I was also really torn by this because I'm like, if I'm just an average like human in this world and there's all
That's
this
true.
blight and I'm like, what kind of dangers exist in this world? And I'm like, there is a lot of danger in those worlds. Like
Yeah.
my life is in peril most of the time between the blight, between I know all the things that are coming to kill you, all the monsters. It's like there's a lot of danger, particularly okay, maybe you're the main character and that's all good. But if you're just an everyday human trying to live your life, that might be kind of difficult.
Yeah. I did sort of assume that I would be like a main character, so
I mean,
that
obviously.
is kind of
That's kind of a prerequisite. We're the main character in these guys.
Yeah. So, and then how could my number 1 is the Iron Flame Fourth Wing world. I don't know if I would be a writer. I would love to say that I would be. I probably wouldn't. I'm not that cool, but just the idea that I could potentially be a writer, write a dragon. I love all the
Yes.
quadrants. I love the school. I just love that whole world so much. So that's my number 1.
Love it so much. Okay, so my top 3. So I was taking into consideration, I was thinking about the danger aspects. I'm like, some of these worlds are really dangerous to live in. And I'm like, would I actually want to be in this world? It's like a part of me does, but a part of me also likes the safety of a slightly safer world. So my number 3 is the world of Once Upon a Broken Heart. So the Meridian Empire, this world is full of magic and jacks and magic and jacks. There are a lot of curses that you're going to have to navigate, and that is the challenge. That's probably the negative of the world, is the ridiculous amount of curses that you have to try and overcome. But I feel like it's all worth it for the magic and for jacks and just...
And you can overcome anything with love. So it's great.
You can cure anything with love. It'll take ages and you'll have to get through about 10,000 curses to get there, but you will get there and then it will be worth it. Yeah. And it feels so bright and colourful and magical. I love that world so much. I love it.
It's a great world.
My number 2 is Prithian from ACOTAR. So the ACOTAR world. So now, probably specifically the night court, the summer court, or maybe the spring court, but not with Tamlin there. Thank you very much. But this is another world that I feel like it's not too dangerous. And Rhysand, obviously, and it just feels like a nice world to live in. Like, especially the night court, it feels very modern, but in a fantasy way. They're very well looked after. I was kind of thinking of myself as just an ordinary human being. I would, obviously, if I'm Feyre, even better, but even as a normal human, it would be a pretty good world to live in. So that was my number 2.
Yeah.
My number 1 is a Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Navarre. So same as you. I'm just like, how can you not want to be part of that world? And I'm the same. I would love to be a dragon rider, but there is just no way that I'm getting across that parapet. I don't have good balance. No,
I probably would parapet. I do think I could survive through like poison, like Violet, with my cunning, but the parapet, I'm not sure I would survive the parapet.
I actually like the idea of being a griffin flyer, because I feel like you get so many of the perks of the dragons without all the dangers. Like, I like that you just jump off a cliff and you try and get a griffin, and if you fail, you just fall in the water and you have to pick something else. You go become a healer or something.
It's like, okay, whatever.
You have to live outside, like Navarre, outside the barriers, which is a danger. But you get some magics, you get the lesser magics, so that's good, but less danger. They're also kind of fluffy, probably soft. They die if you die. That's kind of sweet. Yeah, I just feel like that's a much safer alternative, but I still get a lot of perks.
Yeah. I I like the Griffin Rider idea a lot. You know, it's interesting. I didn't read ACOTAR in 2023, so in my mind it wasn't on like available for me to put here. I was just thinking to myself, like, how would I put ACOTAR above Fourth Wing or under it? And I think for me it would be above Fourth Wing, actually.
Ooh, yes.
I think I love the concept of like the night court and the spring court and the summer court. Like it's just such a cool concept.
It's so beautiful. It's just
and
that
I want to
world.
live in Paris so bad. That's like for me, my number one kind of fantasy world, fantasy city is Valaris of all time.
100% Valaris. Even just the name is beautiful. Even just the name of the place is beautiful. And it just seems like such a nice place to live. They've got like cafes and restaurants and magic, and it feels fairly safe, and it would just be amazing. It would be amazing. And you've got Rhysand and Azrael and Cassian, and there's so many hot fae around. Like that's everything.
I could probably find like another hot fae that I would take as second place to Rhysand. You know, there'd probably be another hot fae somewhere.
Oh, are you more Cassian or Azrael? Who's your fae?
I think I would probably lean more towards Cassian, only because we haven't seen. Like, I just don't really know who Azrael is internally. You know?
Yes.
And I don't want to give too many spoilers here. I'm a little worried about the internal life of Azrael. Let me just say that. I don't know. I have a theory.
Surely, I mean, I'm just so torn between the relationships, like the triangle that's sort of there between Gwyn, Azrael, and Feyre's sister. Yeah, Elaine. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, I've got a whole theory about that Elaine is actually going to become the High Lady of Spring Court with Lucian, because Lucian's going to have to overthrow Tamlin eventually, and that is why they're actually a mated pair. So I actually do believe they're going to end up together, and I think he's going to end up with Gwyn. But I know what you're saying. I feel like of the three, if there was one that was gonna not work out, but I'm with you. I am a Cassian girl through and through. I like my big bad boys. Like he's just that big lovable personality as well, and that's just everything I love. I was so Silver Flame.
It's so funny because like I feel like throughout this episode today we've talked about how much we love a brooding man, but actually I love that Cassian isn't that. He's not brooding, and he's just brooding. He just says what he means.
He's a really open book.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah. That's actually the kind of guy I probably go for in real life, that big, bubbly personality. Like, that is actually who I end up with. But, I mean, muscles and everything are obviously a bonus.
That my husband is like that. My husband is very, like...
Big and muscly?
One. No, but very, like, bubbly and open and direct, and just sort of says what he means, and... that's how my
same. Mine is also like really talkative for a guy. Really, really talkative.
Yeah,
as guys go, definitely. All right. He does have a bit of a moody side though. He does have a little bit of a moody side. Like he gets really like, he likes what he likes and he doesn't like what he doesn't like. And hence I've tried to get him into romantasy books to read them. And he's so painful because he'll be like, oh, that's not realistic or something. And I'll be like, go back to your spy novels. Leave me alone. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. We have one final question before we wrap up our podcast today, and that is your top 3 books that you're looking forward to in 2024.
Ooh, I'm so excited for this one. I don't think these will surprise anyone, so I'm just going to run through them. The number one has to be CC3. I'm just so excited. I can't wait. You know, I think it's going to wreck me. I think I'm going to have a terrible hangover, and I just love that. I'm so excited for that.
Love it.
My number 2 is The Fire in the Flesh, number 4. So that Down for Armentrout prequel series, the 4th book, I think comes out in like May or something.
Yes.
Wait. Oh, I can't wait. I think that one's going to be really, really good. I just knowing how to read these. Yeah, it's really good. And then my number 3 is Goldfinch, which is the 6th book, the last book in the Plated Prisoner series.
Yes.
And it comes out in August.
So my birthday.
Oh, when's your birthday? It comes out August 27th.
31st. My birthday is August 31st.
Just a few days.
I've been reading this on my birthday. Yay!
Yeah, Goldfinch will be your birthday read.
Yes. Okay, my top 3. The first one is the same of you, House of Flame and Shadow, Crescent City 3. That is going to be a monumental read. I do not even know where this story is going to go at this point. Like, there are so many avenues this can go in. The story has just exploded, so who knows what we're going to get. And I have tried to give myself, I haven't read the blurb, I haven't read anything, so it's going to be a complete surprise.
I haven't read the blurb either. I'm avoiding it. I'm just like, I'm going to go in totally blind.
Exactly, 100% shock. I'm going to like switch off from Instagram, 0 spoilers. I'm just going to devour it. I cannot wait. My number 2 is an author I love, Danielle Jensen, A Fate Inked in Blood. Have you heard of that one?
So I have. Is it the first book in a new
series? It's the very first one, so it's a new series. She's also got The Endless War coming out, which is the sequel to one with The Inadequate Heir. That is, I'm really looking forward to that one as well. But A Fate Inked in Blood is her new like Norse gods kind of romance that she's got coming, her Viking romance, and I love her books. She is like such a good author, so I'm very excited about that one.
Did you write the Bridge Kingdom series?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Yes. I love those. In fact, those almost made my top 5 list because I loved those books. So I'm super excited for another book from her. I did not know about that.
Anything Danielle does, it is gold. All the ones, like, she is an up-and-coming author. I think everyone post Bridge Kingdom is realizing how good she is. So I'm so excited for A Fate Inked in Blood. The final one I've got is a sequel, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, the sequel to The Serpent and the Wings of Night.
Okay, yes.
Have you read that?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Yes. I kind of forgot all about that book. I think it's so hard. I read so many books. I sometimes forget about them. I really like that book, though. I really like that.
Yeah, it was a really good book. I felt like it needed its sequel. It really was like, it relied a little bit on getting that next book. So I'm really looking forward to that one because I think we're going to get so much more of the story in this second installment. So I'm looking very forward to that one.
I think I gave it like a 3-star, but I was like, I could easily see book 5 being like a 5-star.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because I read that book right before Fourth Wing. I think I got those 2 recommendations at the same time, and I decided to read The Serpent and the Wings of Night first. And I was a little frustrated because I felt like there wasn't enough brooding, like him just looking at her, feeling their romance. I couldn't feel their romance quite as much. And then I went to Fourth Wing. And Fourth Wing gave me everything I could possibly want in that relationship with Xaden and Violet. I was just, everything I'd missed from this one, it was just all there in spades with Xaden. But this was still a good novel. I feel like, as I said, I think the sequel has a lot of potential. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that's going to be. All right. I think that is all we've got time for today. We have had an amazing episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. I've gotten halfway through my cocktail. You've gotten right through yours.
So. I hope that all of you listening had a really fantastic Christmas, or Hanukkah, or whatever holidays you celebrate. I hope that you're going to have a fantastic New Year's. And thank you so much for listening. We're so excited to keep doing this podcast with all of you in 2024.
Thank you so much for joining us
for our holiday episode in 2024. How happy.
Happy holidays, everyone. Have a great time. Happy New Year's, and we will see you in 2024. Bye.
Bye.